Greetings. I am Dr. Noni Davis coming to you from St. C Academy. I'm a legacy owner of this institution. We have been here since 1996. The school started with my parents, Mama Sylvia Davis, and my father, the late William Edward Davis. And so today, I want to speak on a rites of passage. This Friday, my students, I have 3 students who will be graduating from high school. And one of the things I wanted to learn more about was how Africans, I know that their rites of passage um, is a construct a governing construct or social construct that evolved out of our own history. But just how does that apply to this particular celebration that we're getting ready to engage in? And so, did you even know that graduation is considered a rites of passage? It's a ritual rites of passage is a ritual that begins with the birth of a child. And in Africa and other cultures, I understand that the rites of the ceremonies are in Africa, but also they're in what is it, Japan. The Native Americans do this, and Jewish people, and in Indian people, and Asia also participate in this or create these rituals for newborns. Um, it begins usually, like I said, with the birth of a child, and in Ifa, they have the naming ceremony in the Yoruba tradition. And like I said, these naming ceremonies are all over across the world. Um, let's see what according to this guy named Tito Manata. And these ceremonies have social significance for different ethnicities around the world. So what I want to do is first just look at the different types of rites of passage. Most of us know they do begin with birth. And then the second one is the adulthood, transition from youth to adulthood. The third one is marriage or in parenthood. The fourth one is eldership. And then the final one is that of ancestorship. And so this is the cycle of rites of passage in the African worldview, the lens of Africans. Um, so the rite of birth is the first one with the naming ceremony. And the naming ceremony initiates the child from the spirit world with a message from God and the ancestors. So this is taken very seriously in African culture. There is children are believed to bring new life to the community. They bring a new set of talents and gifts. They come with a purpose, a vision, a mission, straight from the ancestor realm. And so before the name is given to the child, the family is expected to go and seek counsel from a babalao or a priest, with the family and the entire family to find out who this child is and what guidance they need to provide to make sure that the child accomplishes it fulfills its purpose on this planet, his or her purpose on this on the planet. Um, the naming ceremony requires that they seek spiritual advice. And wherein in European cultures, we usually have baby showers, which are a tradition that emerged after World War II. So I did not see anything about European naming ceremonies. I'm sure they had christenings. We know that, especially under the in the Christian faith, and in the Catholics definitely did that. And I had a christening I was born in France and christened at the Notre Dame Cathedral because my mom at that time was practicing Catholicism, and they both of my parents are also military, so that's why I was there. But I'm an American citizen. Let's keep that straight. Anyway, and so a child may be the closest oh wait a minute, let me see. So often the christening of a child may be the closest thing because this is a time where spiritual advice is sought as to who, or I mean, or prayers are made over the child. And then you also have it involves a water baptism. So a christening is more closely aligned with the naming ceremony. Than the, and because I didn't even think my name christening, I was given the name Bernadette. So so there is a naming that's given to you at the christening. But we also know that Catholicism comes straight out of the ancient Egyptian practice. So that it's still very African, still very African. So African naming ceremonies also believe that the name of the child should reflect the child's purpose. They usually occur when the child is 7 days old, and the child is given a taste of water, which symbolizes purity in life. They're also given a dab of honey on their tongue, which symbolizes the sweetness and prosperity. They also get salt, which is protection and preservation. They also get coconut, which is supposed to represent fertility and abundance. They're given palm oil, which is symbolizes wealth and nourishment. And then usually a cola nut is also included with with hospitality. So I'm going to just show you these. I guess I just went through them, and this is an example of a naming ceremony. And they've got the drumming and everything. It's beautiful. And so these are the cola nuts, and they're bitter, but they celebrate, also symbolize the bitterness of life, but they're also hospitality, and they're used in greetings, and they're also used in marriage ceremonies. And then you have the honey, which is also the sweetness. You've got the coconut, which is fertility and abundance, and you've got the salt, which was the salt was what now? Let me remember what the salt says. Protection and preservation. You've got, oh wait, that's the palm oil. Sorry. That's the palm oil, which is wealth and nourishment. And now this is the honey, which is sweetness. And then water. And so which represents here purity and life. And so those are the elements. And I think sometimes they only do a couple of 4 elements, but in this one they show the 6 different elements, or 6 different um, um, things that you bring to a naming ceremony. And then the elements, of course, all represent earth, water, fire, and air. Um, uh, right now, then the next one is the rite of adulthood. So between the age of 12 and 13 in African traditions, the girls and the boys of that age group are taken out away from the community. When I was in Sierra Leone, they were taken out to spaces you did not see them. They left the village, and you did not see them. And I think it was for a few weeks, maybe even a month or so, almost. And the right and this time is led by elders, and is led by leaders of the community and the children. The purpose of it is to shape the identity and the personal development, to educate the children, the youth, about their roles and their responsibilities as they grow into this adulthood. They become educated about the history of the community. They learn their roles and responsibilities within the community, and encourages a sense of belonging and connection to their community. In Africa, these young people are separated or isolated, like I said, for some time, and they undergo tests that are physical, that are rigorous, rituals, and are taught specific cultural practices by the elders and the community leaders. They get the history, the traditions. They learn survival skills. They learn music and dance that are musical rhythms and dances that are directly associated with the rites of passage, and in some instances, male and female circumcision. So we know that um, there are still some, Western opposition to female circumcision, but you know, I I'm not going to go into that because I was not raised in the culture and I have not been taught the meaning of it. So I am not in a position to make form an opinion on it. Um, and then, and that also depends on the spiritual belief. If people are practicing Islam, practicing Christianity, or any other traditional religions, is going to dictate the the type and the time frame that one gets circumcised. And so the next rite is that of marriage. Um, okay, so rite of marriage, and this is to ensure one's lineage and perpetuity, right? So it's the joining of two families. Um, Often in Africa, these arrangements occur probably they begin to occur once people go through their rites of passage. Your wife could be when you're 12. A year old boy, you may be chosen. Uh, you may have already your family may have already selected someone to be your wife, and at that time, though, that's the next thing that happens. You're being prepared for marriage or whatever. Um, the marriage is a spiritual union between two families with much prayer and spiritual counsel. Once again, given in the traditional practices, there are cleansing ceremonies that both partners have to go through, and there's several prayer sessions, and so there's a lot of preparation beforehand before one enters into a marital union. Um, that is they have to honor the ancestors, strengthen familiar ties or bonds, unite the couples, or which is uniting the two families. You have a community celebration and support, and then there's also an accountability because these people have stood with you at and gone through these rituals with you. So now they are accountable to you to support you as in your marriage. Um, there's also a bride price, which I think they still celebrate. I have a funny anecdote. One of um, my sons, as father, had another younger set of children, and so um, the young boy was had a crush on one of the older girls, and told her that he was going to marry her when he grew up. And she said, "You can't marry me. You don't have any money." And he said, "I have 4 cows." It's hilarious that a 4-year-old can tell somebody that they already have 4 cows. So he was working on his bride price. And she was like, "4 American children. We don't have no idea what that means, but that was like an engagement ring, basically." So anyway, so in Africa, unlike Europe, we're beginning to practice these same kind of modes. We'll have a European wedding, and then we'll have an African wedding. Well, in the African traditional wedding, the colors are bright and brilliant. It's not white to get married. Uh, the the colors, red is usually there somewhere for love and fertility. Your gold is usually in there for wealth and prosperity, and green is for abundance. And then there's always cola nuts, which are the bitters, but they're also uh, um, symbolizing the unity of the families. And then there's a pouring of libation, which is honoring the ancestors, pouring water into a plant or pouring water directly into the soil with a prayer and a remembering of ancestors. So then you have the right of eldership, and that's a jagna. And so for Africans, eldership is not just getting old. A jagna is a person who has, and this is an Ethiopian term. This is a person who has demonstrated integrity. Um, uh, they are good character. They practice ma'at, harmony and balance and justice and order and truth and righteousness, reciprocity and prosperity. Most of the time, they are married or they have a long-term partnership, and in a lot of cases, they are expected to also have children, um, or at least have raised children. And so you cannot just just because you're old doesn't mean that you are considered a revered elder in the African community. And they instill, the reason is because the role of the elder is, he is considered that a person who's a custodian of wisdom. They know the history, and they have of the community, and they have life experiences, and they know the traditions. Um, they are preservers. They're considered preservers of cultural heritage, and enrichers. They enrich the community. They're advisors to the youth, and they instill identity and belonging and continuity of cultural practices and values and authority. This, now I forget, I am not doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be giving you providing the websites. And so, for at the beginning, when I said the rites of passage, this comes from five African rites you should know from the human growth for human growth, and that's the history and culture, written by this guy Aduago in 2021. And then Only One Africa is where I got the information about the rights of adulthood. And then Radar Africa is where I got the information about um, the eldership. And let's see, so uh they leadership and authority in the community decisions, and like I said, they have to have integrity. They have to have a deep understanding of communal dynamics, and they're as the elders are considered to be the pillars of strength, stability, with a collective memory, and aspirational. They are aspirational, and we know that because when we're reading about learning from our elders, we revere them for that reason. Those with gray hair, because they're supposed to uh, uh, show us the way, based on what they have experienced, and not necessarily to do it the same way that they did it, because like we said, we know that for the rites of passage of the naming ceremony, we believe that these children are babies are coming in here prepared for what they have to do in their generation. And so it's not going to be the same, but wisdom is wisdom, what understanding is understanding. And so the elder, a revered elder, will keep that in mind as they're giving advice to young people. This, in your age and in your path, these are the things that we need to maintain. These are the things that may need to be discarded, depending on the situation. But we are supposed to be helping our young people to walk in their path and fulfill their path and do it with dignity and righteousness. And like I said, practicing ma'at. Um, the rights of ancestorship, because that's something that a lot of times we don't think about. We know that folks die. We know that elders transition, but I had never thought of it, ancestorship as a rites of passage. But now I'm like, okay, so all right, I got that. And so that this is the last rites, and Africans believe that transition to death does not mean a disconnection from the family or a community of the living. And we know that, and that idea that your ancestors are always with you. Yes, now I got to acknowledge that that's a rite of passage. Um, Ancestors are considered the mediators between the living and God, and so these they're honored by altars that people set up in their houses. You have, an area where you have their pictures. You may have something that they like to do, like I have a bottle of fingernail polish, just my aunt, Isoline Levon, who I'm named after, Levon. Um, Loved to paint her fingernails. I remember her doing that all the time. What did they like to drink? What did they like to smoke? Her grandfather, someone like the little cigarette there. And um and then also, and that's another thing about revered elders, you cannot be a drunk. You cannot be a person who is uh has a lack of self-control and a lack of self-discipline. They're very specific. It can't be that else, an ancestor or a revered elder or considered a great ancestor if you had those issues. But you have clothing, you have food that they may have liked, birthday cake or, um, coffee or whatever, with candles lit on that altar to honor these ancestors, and then prayers to and asking them to protect you and to keep you out of trouble and all of that. That is what we do with our ancestors. And so, um, let's see. I wanted to now tie this back into graduation. So, graduate in ancient Mali, in ancient Egypt, I could not find a lot of pictures to celebrate these things, but I'll see what I did find. What I did find here. Oh, this is a rites of passage program. I think in here in the States. Here's a one boys to men what's and I think, and I can't remember where that is. And then this is a marriage right experience to be traditional weddings. I think that's Zulu people in South Africa. And as you can see, no white. This is, they're celebrating in their traditional garb. But now here we've, since May, we've been in a graduation of our students. And this is their rites of passage. This is their rites of passage from school, regarding school. They're senior, they've completed all of their credits, they have met the standards for academic excellence to pass these courses and to move on to the next phase of their life, whether it be attending college, attending a community college. All of I have three young ladies. The oldest is 16 and two of them are 15 years old, who will be graduating this week. We The youth in Kemet. Let me see, do I have it? Oh, here is an example of schooling in Kemet, but it did not have an ancient, they didn't show their clothing. This is also a picture of a young man in Mali. And so multi-traditional clothes, but that in our traditions, our kids wear certain colors. And so for me, my students, our colors are purple and gold. And they have the Janame symbol, which means fear none but God. And that's in the gold. And the gold symbolizes, I think I said it, prosperity and wealth. But purple also, let's see, is a celebrate in the Yoruba Ifa tradition. It celebrates special occasions, which this is a graduation. It celebrates life's milestones. This is a milestone for Americans, high school students. It symbolizes power, wealth, royalty, authority, and respect. And so those colors are our graduation colors. Our children will be wearing a buba with a kufi, and the kufi is also trimmed in gold. And then they also have, we're going to attach those square little things on the top, diamond shaped things for because they've already decorated it for their cap and gown kind of thing. But they're gonna have the kufi on too, because we're doing this through our lens. And so that purple brocade and that gold embroidery are symbolizing Saint Sia colors. The youth in Kemet, Mali, Ethiopia, and other societies had ceremonies that celebrated academic and spiritual achievement. And our graduation honors and graduation and our honors, we're going to also give out our certificates for our students who excelled at had academic excellence, and also for I can't remember, it's not beatitudes, but those who demonstrated other qualities like kindness and gentleness and responsibility and taking care of others. And we will use adinkra symbols that will represent those symbols that represent what their interactions with others. But then we all, like I said, we also have those who were the high achievers in their classrooms. Our students, I think I just said that. Okay, with the thing for symbol. Okay, and so we celebrate this historic milestone for these children. Like I said, they're young. They have some of them. I think one of them has been here since she was 4, so she's been with us for 11 years. Another one has been here. The other 2 have been here since they were 8. 1, 7, 1, 8. So 4, 7, and 8. And so 11 years. Since this other one, she's 15, so she's been here for 8 years, and the other one is 16, and she's been here for 8 years. So these students, we have raised these babies. St. Sia has raised the babies. And so we celebrate this historic milestone and pray that they have learned what is necessary to move on to the next phase. Because of their age, we're encouraging them to do derm tech, to just because they're going from this very small environment to a college level environment where they have older students. And so, the parents were a little cautious about that. And I agree, let them take their time. One is aspiring to be a engineer. The other one is aspiring to be what does she want to do? No, clothes design. She's a really amazing artist. And the youngest one is also an amazing artist. I think she wants to go in graphic art design. And actually, these girls are really smart. They could do anything. They really could do whatever. So I wouldn't even limit them on what they're doing right now. But We just respect their choices when we pray that they would, as they move through each stage of their rites of passage, that they would be successful and they would practice ma'at, harmony and balance, justice and order, truth and righteousness, reciprocity and prosperity when transitioning through each phase. Ashe, ashe.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I walk into the sound of drums.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I know my mother.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I can play the drum.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I can work with my hands.
I'm a St. Cia student.